Hey, good morning. That's a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, have to pick up the bus today, so I got to ride down in the red with James. He brought me down. Well, I drove down. He's just driven off. He's going back. That's our road up there. You can see it's looking pretty muddy. There's been a lot of rain last night and today, this morning. So I'm here and I'm waiting for a bus, and that's the that's the view that I see. This is my neighbour that we often pass, and he's come down here for water with his carabao and his sled. I love it. And he's hitched it up to somebody's pickup truck. And there's the Sorella family, and oh, that must be his dog as well. Look at that, he's barefoot. So you can be passed on the road by a Ford Ranger that's 1.4 or 1.5 or maybe even more, depending on the model, million pesos, and you'll see that man there doing as he's always done. I've got off the road now, but I'm actually waiting for a bus. Just the point in question. So the house there, the man has extensive investment in machinery. He has several tractors, I think. Has a whole crew of people working for him. A piggery. I think he's got some kind of investment in rice fields, because he has a special drying facility that he's just had built. And that is there now, and it's a special outfit or facility, whatever you want to call it. And they have a hole in the wall of the building, but he's had no windows, and it's only about 6 or 7 feet tall. And the rice is put in there, and then he has a huge industrial fan, which will not exactly sure how it would work. And that blows air in. Now there's going to be a driver. There's going to be a driver of a van who's going to want me to join him on his suicide run up to Tubigon, which I'm not interested in doing. So I'll hope that I don't stand here for too long waiting for a bus. I'd rather take my chances with a bus, even though they're not exactly slow drivers anyway. But the white van drivers, I always jokingly say, and I suspect I might be close to the truth, when they've done their training as van drivers, they go for an internship with a circus or a fairground, and they do the wall of death, and then they come back and they go on seamlessly. Look at that. They go on seamlessly to driving the white vans. Now the white vans are relatively cheap and very fast. That's a local jeepney. Quite large, actually, bordering on almost being like a bus. It's bigger than the one that we have. It takes a lot of passengers, and I always see it parked up near the Iglesias Ni Cristo church. So as I was saying about this house opposite, the owner is obviously a very savvy businessman. All of that alteration there, the white truck that you can see, it says keep your distance, keep distance. A common thing. Two things that you always see on trucks and anything that could be hired out, any van or truck, and it will always say two things. It says keep your distance and not for hire. Now you see the size of that truck. What we're actually standing on right now is the National Highway. National Highway, and it runs between Taffy, well for us, it runs from here, Taffy, right through Burgos, and it goes through all of the small barangays, and it goes right up to Taliban, and then it continues on after that, and it goes by the hospital and so on. So this is the National Highway, and they're gradually extending it side to side, and they're putting in 6 and 7 feet of concrete on either side where they can. It's going to be difficult there. Look, it'll take away the front part of that man's drive. Well, it won't be his. In much the same way as in other countries, when you have a house by the side of the road, about 2 meters at least from the concrete, from this concrete here, 2 meters is for the government, just in case they do have to, well, in case they have to extend. Well, there's a lot of activity, but no boss. See, but for the National Highway, and look. Now look at this truck that's coming behind. Toyota Hilux, and it's all tricked out, and actually not even as much as some of the ones that I've seen, but that's a 1.5 million peso truck, possibly more, because it did seem to be a little bit more tricked out than some of the others. Now this is what is always a concern. Well, it's my concern. I'm not usually into the fear thing, but it's as well to be aware. See the motorcycle that just putted on by, doing maybe 25 miles an hour with a couple of people on. Maybe it may have been 3. I wasn't paying attention, but they're on there and they're doing their thing, and they're not going very fast. How fast do you think that the Sorella family go with their tricycle with 4 or possibly, let me see, 2, 4, maybe 6 passengers? How fast are they going to go? And they'll be on the National Highway. And the National Highway is being shared by goats, sometimes a pig if it managed to get away. See, look here. There's the vans. Now look at the speed of that compared to that man there, him and his wife on his motorcycle. And then another one, that's a multi-cab. Hundreds, thousands and thousands of multi-cabs are on the roads, and they're actually pretty fast. They're not the danger that I'm trying to get to, and that is the difference between someone taking their children to school, or a bike rider who will hire out as a solo rider and take up to 4, 5, 6, I've seen 7 children on a bike with the rider, and they'll go to school that way. and he'll charge them, I don't know, 5 or 6 pesos, and he makes a living like that. Now put that together with the occasional cow that's on the road, and cows are not known for taking traffic instructions, so they wander about willy-nilly. Now look at that bend there. Fancy coming around that bend and finding a cow in the road? And it will be your fault. So mix that in with the van drivers who are on a death wish, and people who are newly successful, driving on finance, probably driving a 1.5 million peso Hilux, or a Toyota Hilux, or the Ford Ranger, and those vehicles handle like sports cars compared to whatever else is on the road. So people get in. Now Filipinos are incredibly quick at learning skills. So if you take a Filipino and put him into a Ford Ranger, and he will learn to drive that the same way as he learns to drive a bike. I mean, they drive bikes and they drive them very skillfully. Look at that. There he goes. Now children have been riding motorcycles since they were old enough to sit up. Believe me, old enough to sit up, and they sit right there on the gas tank. And sometimes the man will even take the child to work with him. Sits on the gas tank and he holds on to this. This is the bar that he holds on to, and he learns that at the earliest age, when other kids in the West are probably learning to be in one of those little walkers that they get dumped in, and they scoot around. While they're scooting around the living room floor, a Filipino kid will be riding with his dad and holding on to that bar. So here's another bus, another van, and they'll beat and hope that I'm going to get on, but that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for a bus. Well, that's a school service. Look at that. It's going around a blind bend, and he's overtaking. So what's missing here is the whole emphasis on road training. In America, the land of cool phrases. They can describe everything so perfectly, and they call it defensive driving. It's not emphasized here. Now that's unusual. He's driving steady. And everything goes quiet again. Now if you just take a moment and just look at this is a really effective mode of transport. And they've got this, look. Now that's because the driver is going to be on here. But this is for 2 people, 3 people maybe, because if he has the offer, he will scoot forward and sit almost on the gas tank and have 3 people behind him with that little extended seat there. Right? So 2 there, 3 there, and another 2 there, and still got room for luggage. Look at that at the back. That'll take luggage, and they'll put anything. This is metal. So it's belt and braces engineering You can see that this really is just like rebar, and they know how to do it. So that's all done up on a frame, and then they put on the sheets of metal. Then they work out a whole little and believe me, you look at that mud guard that's on that third wheel, and somebody will have travelled on that. You can see that because that's even got a footrest as well. So this driver will take you from here to Taliban, which is about 18 kilometers, and I think probably he might charge you, we never actually go on these tricycles now, but I think it's less, more or less about 15. Here's my bus, so I gotta go.